Robert Walsh makes the show happen as we are joined by VolQuest's Austin Price. We got free agency and playoffs to talk about simultaneously in college football. Austin, what's up, sir? How are you?
So what you're telling me is I don't have to worry about being interrupted before I get done with my answer today. That's what you're telling me today.
Oh, wait. What is wrong with you,
Austin choosing violence to start the show.
You used to be better
today.
than this. You did.
You're feeling the playoff game week energy, aren't you, Austin?
It's easy to take little jabs when she's on a cruise. I mean, you better listen, man. When you're on a cruise and you're living the high life, you just have to expect and accept, the jabs when you're not here.
That's right.
Easily. Speaking of cruise, I know you're a Disney family, man. Have you done the Disney cruise?
I have not done a Disney cruise. That is one thing I've not done that's Disney. I'm not opposed to it.
Hey.
Just,
Ramon speaks
I'll
highly.
be honest with you,
time.
it's elite. It is elite. They're going to tax you a little bit more like Disney. But hear me out, though, Austin. If that is an elite cruise, man, definitely do that.
Well, I have no doubt the entertainment would be much more up my alley than magicians and stuff like that.
Right.
Because, I love the Disney flavor. But at the same time, I don't have Ramon Foster money to go pay to go on a Disney cruise. If I had your money, Ramon, I'd burn mine.
See, this is what we do. Now I know we off to a good week.
love it.
Austin, I know practice has been great this week, man. I know it has, man. You coming in firing darts like this, I'm here for it, man.
I love it. VolQuest's Austin Price, our guest. Austin, what is the X factor this weekend? Tennessee and Ohio State. We've broken this down for a week now. I think we're all ready for this game to be played. What is the biggest key for Tennessee, in your opinion, to pull off this upset?
I think they have to get off to a quick start. I think that's paramount. You're going to have more Tennessee fans in there than a lot of people expected just a few weeks ago. I'm expecting somewhere between 15 and 20, 15 and 20,000 Tennessee fans. And who knows what happens between now and then with Tennessee fans seeing prices drop, having more gobble up tickets and head to the Great White North. I guess for me, you've got to win, the line of scrimmage, and you got to get off to a quick start. I think if you can do those things, I think that Tennessee could go on the road and get what would be a massive win for the program and a massive win for this team.
It's interesting, Austin, a lot of the conversation around Nico Iamaleava, and I know you guys at VolQuest have been following his numbers since his big scramble against Alabama, where he's completed 68% of his passes, 12 touchdowns to only 1 interception. How much do you feel like Josh Heupel in this offense trusts Nico Iamaleava to go make some plays and win them this game? How much do they open things up in your mind, or how much does this still just, hey, manage the game, minimize that position, and let the rushing offense and Dylan Sampson lead the way?
I think it's time and place. I don't think they're going to go into it thinking conservatively. Now, if you have the lead, in the fourth quarter, are you out there running the same thing you're running in the first and second quarter? I think it depends on, do you feel like you got to have points? Do you feel like you can lean on your defense and get to the house and play mistake-free football on offense? But I do think that they'll be more open than they've been. I think you'll see, some different wrinkles because Josh Heupel kind of was, tongue-in-cheek, like it's going to be the same exact team you've seen on all 3 phases their whole year. Like, it was like he just having some fun yesterday when he asked if, what kind of new wrinkles, could be thrown in this 3-week window between games. And so I expect Tennessee to come out with a game plan to be aggressive. I expect them to use tempo because that's something Ohio State doesn't see a whole lot of. If they can get to that point, again, you've got to get to tempo before you can play with it, right? You've got to start strong. First down's key. And if those things can kind of get rolling downhill for you, Tennessee can really start having some success.
No doubt about it. Austin Price is with us this morning, VolQuest and On 3. Also, when you look at this game, too, you mentioned, just fast starts and coaches and stuff like that. Well, it's a tale of two coaches almost in a sense to me, man, with Coach Heupel somewhat in it as it pertains to UT fully behind him. When you look at Ryan Day and coaches that have been in this situation before, all right, they lose this game, it's a different conversation. Have you seen coaches go through this with this type of prestigious university where it's probably losing you're gone as far as their history as of late?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly backs against the wall for Ryan Day, and Ohio State, so to speak. But, I mean, let's face it, if they move on from Ryan Day, they'll just hire another coach and still be elite. I mean, they're an elite program. I mean, the guy's lost, very few games in his tenure. Most of them have been to Michigan or SEC schools. And so, everybody knows Ohio State's record, like, well, they won in 14 or whatever it is the last, 15 games against SEC teams. They can certainly lose a game at home to Tennessee. You lost at home to Michigan. The pressure to me is on Ohio State. It's not on Tennessee at all. Tennessee comes in with house money. You're on the road. You've not been a great road team. Ohio State put all that money into this particular team with Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Downs and just all these high-priced, as you called it to begin with, free agents that they brought in, last winter. The pressure's on them. They didn't even make it to the Big Ten championship game. Now they still have a chance to flip the script, reverse course, and go win a national championship, but the pressure is on the Buckeyes. And so that's why I said the start is key. If you get off to a quick start, how much doubt creeps in, how much do the fans go, enough of Ryan Day, and they just bail on you.
They got a receiving core that's one of the best, if not the best, in all of college football, man, other than the 17-year-old at Alabama. As it pertains to Jamar McCoy turning into the dog that he has this year, now is collecting All-American accolades and everything behind it. How much of a, advantage does it give this Vols defense to have him on one side, Ricky Gibson, and just this D-line up front, too, to be able to shut down maybe one of those guys that Ohio State has at receiver?
Yeah, you're not going to – let's build Chris Berman line. You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. Yeah. I think that's kind of how you look at this. They're going to make plays, right? You can't allow them to have 40 and 50-yard touchdowns. They're going to catch passes on you. They're too elite at that level to not do that. So I think having Jermod McCoy, Ricky Gibson, and Boo Carter playing at such a high level for almost the entire season, I think that helps Tennessee. I think that most teams couldn't match up on the outside with this Ohio State team. Tennessee can. Now, again, they're going to have some success against these guys, the Ohio State's going to have success against Tennessee, but, how much do you limit it? How much do you, they caught a ton of passes between the 20s, but Tennessee did a great job of bottling them up when they got in the red zone because Ohio State's been an elite red zone offense and defense all year long.
VolQuest Austin Price, our guest at Austin Priceless, where you follow him on Twitter. Austin, how much confidence does Tennessee's defensive staff have in Edwin Spillman, and how big of a role do you think he has to play Saturday night?
Well, he's going to have to play a fairly decent role. Ironically, this is the one team he chose Tennessee over. These were his two finalists, and now he goes to the Horseshoe to play against an Ohio State team, that offensively has a lot of, big-time pieces, especially at tailback and at receiver. So they're going to lean on him. He's going to probably play 25 to 30 snaps just based on what Jalen Smith's done, the latter part of the year. And I think Tennessee's got to do that because you want to have, Arion Carter fresh as he can be, in the fourth quarter. So you've got to spell some of your main guys, which means Evan Spillman's going to have to play his best football of the season when he's not played a ton of football this season. And so, this has been a crash course the last 3 weeks to get him ready.
Austin, switching gears to the other stuff that coaches have to deal with playing in the college football playoff. It's crazy that free agency is happening during the postseason in this sport, which is not happening anywhere else in sports. Let's start with Wendell Moe, the offensive lineman from Arizona. I know you were able to catch up with him as he left campus over the weekend. What kind of impression did Tennessee make on him, and how big of a priority is he at a big position of need in the interior of that offensive line?
Yeah, Wendell Moe is someone who is, a player that Tennessee really would, covets, wants, and feels like they're trending for. I feel like Tennessee's in a good spot here leaving the visit. If he doesn't take any more visits, which the only other one would be Washington, I think Tennessee's in the best position to land Wendell. And, another Polynesian kid, continue kind of that poly pipeline that Tennessee started to slowly build. the last few years, and I think would be a huge get for the offensive interior, which is where Tennessee's trying to attack in the portal right now.
Austin, in that same context, man, you like to be an everything school as far as your football is concerned. I think Ohio State is probably wide receiver you at this point right now. But the way Tennessee has had 12 to 13 defensive linemen, is that something you think that Coach Gardner and the defense is going to try to do year in and year out with these transfers that are coming in? I said, of course, James Thompson, JVR Suggs from LSU. Like, these are guys that you want to come in and start playing so you can somewhat continue this pathway of defensive line dominance.
Yeah, I'm not sure they'll ever have as many as they had this year. I mean,
hope so.
Kind of a perfect storm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do feel like, that's the goal, is to continue to be able to have a bunch of fresh bodies to kind of rotate, because that's where Tennessee really started to, build its defense, just a few years ago, and it's culminated in such a successful group, this year. So, again, I don't know if it's 13, but, I do think that Coach Garner would certainly love to have, 10 guys he can roll out there every year, and, whether it be, seniors or down even to the freshmen that give you 8 to 10 snaps a game that, help, spell everybody. I think that's something that's quietly a goal of his, to kind of continue what he's had this year.
And in that same context, man, looking at the young freshmen that are coming, I know David Sanders Jr. is on campus. Ethan Utley from right here in the city is there too. What is this time of the year like for those guys? I know there's no school going on for them, so is it just strictly development practices for them?
Yeah, I think, for these, early enrollees, it's just about being here, being around it, helping where you can help. They've done, some freshman type practices, and that's where, they've been able to kind of see some of these guys out there running around, do some things. And, they like this group. DeJuan Morris at Murfreesboro, Oakland has flashed, when he's had, some opportunities just to run around and showcase his athleticism. David Sanders looks like David Sanders you would expect. Ethan Utley, as you mentioned, is someone I think can help Tennessee and will continue to add to depth to that defensive line that Rodney Garner is you were talking about. So, for these guys, for these freshmen, these true freshmen that are realistically could easily still be in high school, it's just about being around, being present, helping where you can help, and just kind of get a jump start on everything.
Austin Price of VolQuest on 3, our guests this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Austin, at running back and at wide receiver, Tennessee has lost a lot of talent out into the portal. You've got Caleb Webb, you've got Chaz Nimrod, Khalifa Keith, now Cam Selden, all entering that process. Where does Tennessee go at those two positions, if at all, in the portal? Are there any targets emerging, or is it kind of a waiting game maybe to shop guys on playoff teams when that 5-day window opens after their team gets knocked out, when they can then enter the portal?
I think it's a waiting game. I do think they'll add somebody at receiver. I do think they'll add somebody at running back because of what they've lost, because of who's left, and just the depth there. Had those players not left, I don't think Tennessee would have added anybody. But I do think it'll be more of a wait-and-see approach. There are no scheduled visits with anybody at running back or wide receiver. Now, there are some kids that Tennessee has taken a look at. They may have even reached out to that's in the portal. But, they do that a lot, and things never materialize into a visit or anything like that. So right now there's nothing scheduled with a receiver or running back, and we'll see if anything pops up. But at this point and at this stage, it certainly feels like anything visit-wise, would either have to materialize really quick to happen, like, the next couple of days. Tennessee's got Josh Thompson, the Northwestern offensive lineman, coming in here tomorrow, or actually today. He's coming in today and tomorrow. And then, after that, it just kind of gets you're too up against the game. I don't think you want to be, hampering yourself, worrying about a visitor when you've got this game coming up on Saturday night.
Austin, how much do these coaches just hate the way this window and schedule works? Because if I'm Josh Heupel, how in the world are you balancing all of this? I know coaches are grinders, and they go through periods like this all the time, right, where they just are all recruiting, and all game planning. So these hours aren't new to them. But Like, how does this staff manage looking ahead and having to be in the portal now and in the moment, because guys are signing now while also still finding a way to prepare for Ohio State?
Not enough hours in the day. You're constantly having to do this and that, and it is a juggling act, but it's part of it. I mean, they know kind of what's going to go into it before this time even gets here, and so it's just a matter of trying to balance your day the best you can and handle the visitors where you can, handle the team where you can, but ultimately the most focus is solely on winning this game coming up Saturday night.
Austin, when you look at that Saturday night matchup, you got some veteran guys, man, against a very good defensive line on Ohio State. Like, I know Ohio State said they had a players-led meeting or anything like that, but how much of an emphasis, man, is Cooper and the rest of that group's going to have on maintaining and dominating up front? Because I think that's where the X factor's got to be for this Vols team, especially keeping Nico clean so he can see the field, but also just dominating them in the run game with All-American, man, Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, they've got to win up front. I think that's key on both sides of the ball, defensive line, offensive line. But Tennessee's ability to run the football at the horseshoe, I think, will determine whether, they have success on offense. Because if they can run and they force everybody up to try to stop Dylan Sampson in those running lanes, then that's where Dante Thornton and the passing game with Nico and Kitzelman and Brew and everybody really start to have real opportunities. And when you give them opportunities, Tennessee's been successful most of the year.
Austin Price of VolQuest and On 3. Great time to get in on VolQuest and On 3 if you haven't already. What are you doing at this point? Tennessee in the playoff, number 1 ranked men's basketball team. Everything else still to come for the rest of this recruiting season. You will want to get in on that. Austin, appreciate you as always, sir. Enjoy Columbus this weekend. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Austin Price was with us this morning. The Wendell Moy Nugget. A big one.
Nice.
It's one of the best interior offensive linemen in the portal.
Yeah,
they need it.
They do need it bad in the worst way.
Ramon, I've got some excellent news for you.
I'm not sure, Will.
One of the most popular segments in radio is about to return.
I got a feeling now.
Coming up next.